Welcome to the discussion of a book, Snapshots, recommended for CBSE Core Course, 11th Standard. The very first chapter opens the canvas of a wonderful story where we notice two poor Armenian boys, Aram and Mourad. They belong to Khosrove family, and their quality is their benchmark skill and benchmark qualities are trustworthiness and honesty. The story opens and the narrator of the story is Aram. Aram is the younger brother who is trying to narrate the whole story which has been painted in the canvas of the story. And there are two brothers, this Aram and Mourad. Mourad was considered crazy by everybody from the whole tribe, but except Aram. Why? And see the contrast the author used here. He is telling that the whole family, the whole tribe is considering crazy this Mourad, but the qualities of Aram was he had a way with a horse, he had a way with farmers, he had a way with dogs, and he not only all that, he can talk. He was found talking by Aram one day. Mourad was talking with the word young robin bird. So what we can see that Mourad was worldly wise. He was having a great communication ability to even to talk with extra cultural communication, extra ability of communication and extra personal communication. He had a way with the horse, he had a way with the farmers, he had a way with the dogs, and he was having the ability to talk with a robin. So that much of vast understanding separates him from all others. And the better quality of Mourad was he enjoyed being alive than anybody else. Means, according to Aram, Mourad was the person, for him, life is the most significant thing, and he took it for entertainment, each and every part. And furthermore, since they cannot steal, but they, at one fine morning, early morning, Aram saw Mourad carrying a horse, and see, it was surprise for a poor family member who is hand to mouth. How can they afford a horse, and that too beautiful white horse? But having all this query aside, though it was Aram was thinking that he was dreaming, but it was not his dream. When he looked, he was rubbing his eyes and he wanted to clarify that whether who is there and what is happening. And when he advocate that Mourad, his cousin, was there, he jumped into his clothes and he came out of the house and they started enjoying the ride. Both these boys used to live in Walnut Avenue. But immediately after they crossed the country, they reached to Olive Avenue. And this was the situation, and that ride was so much enjoyable. The story moves further And we noticed that the horse belonged to a man, village man, known as John Byro. Who was John Byro? John Byro was the Assyrian farmer, and these two kids are Armenian boys. Then one fine noon, this John Byro comes to meet them. And in this noon, there was a person who was known as Uncle Khosrove. Uncle Khosrove was the very interesting character of the story. He is the man with the longest mustache, unpredictable, and he was the legendary character of that family that has a crazy streak. He was the ancestor of that in a way, and his habitual statement was, "It is no harm, pay no attention to it." And every time, whatsoever is happening, whether it is a big loss or a small loss, he will say it's no harm, pay no attention to it. Though the father of Mourad was Zorab, and Zorab has been a very practical man and nothing else. But Zorab as a person, and in that tribe it has been known that a father who is biological father can be the father of flesh, but not the soul. And in reality, Mourad was a descendant, a progeny, a son of the man with the largest mustache and strong build, Uncle Khosrove. And he took that horse, applying his skill, his way with the horse. And he rode for it. But once, when the horse belonged to this John Byro, he came, he visited for having smoking with them. Suddenly he was narrating the story, his loss of the horse, and telling that, "I lost my horse." Uncle Khosrove became very angry, and he said, "What loss is the loss of a horse? Pay no attention to it." But for John Byro, it was very tough time because he owns a saray. And he says that, "See, I own a saray. What use of that saray is if I lost my horse?" Then he said, again, pay no attention to it. He said, "I am coming to meet you by walking 10 miles. Then he said, "So what is strange about it? You got food, you got legs, so you can walk. And there is no harm. You can walk, pay no attention." But he again was in the complaining mode, and he said that, "See, I own the saray. What is the use of that saray without without horse?" But Uncle Khosrove became very angry. And the storyline moves further. It talks about, and when this fellow came to know that the horse belonged to John Byro, this Aram moved to the open ground where he noticed that his brother Mourad was talking with a robin bird, and he intimates him that we should this horse belonged to that farmer John Byro. He was with us in our home. Then he said, "I am thinking of returning the horse." For Aram, he started enjoying the horse ride, and he wanted to learn how to ride a horse. This was not a pleasant news. He said, please don't return till I have learned how to ride a horse. But Mourad said, no. Do you want to tell a member of Garaglanian family to steal? If you want to promote it and the stealing, it is not possible. And we can't be a thief. Finally, he decided to return. But he said, how long do you think that you will be able to learn it? Aram said, I think 6 months or 1 year. He said, no. I cannot keep this horse for that long duration. Later on, they tried to return the horse, and while turning to the village, they suddenly meet that John Byro. John Byro said, where do you get this horse? And what is the name of your horse? He said, my heart. No, it looks like my horse. But had I not been knowing your family, and whose hallmark is trust and honesty, I might have said that this is my horse. But if this is not my horse, definitely this is the twin of my horse. He examined the horse a bit. He decided to examine the horse a bit closer and said, tooth for tooth. And he surprised like anything, and he said that if this is not my horse, definitely it is the twin of my horse. The chapter ends with the next day returning the horse and visit of John Byro to this Garaglanian family. When this farmer comes in a surrey, in his own surrey, rode by that horse, drove by that horse, and then ultimately they say, he intimated Uncle Khosrove that I got my horse back, somebody returned it. Surprisingly, my horse is more trained and toned, and it is behaving more smartly and positively. Again, Uncle Khosrove was very angry. It's no harm, pay no attention to it. Here ends the chapter. But the might of the pen of the writer like William Saroyan is reflected in the smartness of using a few phraseology and sentences. When he say, or we can examine that, when Mourad is repeating many a times, I have a way with the horse, Mourad again repeated, I have way with the farmer, and when he said finally, I have a way with dogs. And not only that, Mourad is talking with the robin. For a common man, a boy talking with the bird, a boy interacting with a horse, a boy interacting with the dogs, this is really a crazy behavior. But for a sociological overall significance, though he may be considered as the craziest member of that family, it is really the smart skill where man is communicating extra personally. And these two cousins, Aram identified that skill of his cousin, and a few more places were discussed. Like Uncle Khosrove was the man, strongest man of San Jacquin Valley. These are the 4 places talked of. He lived in Walnut Avenue, Aram and Mourad. and second place is Olive Avenue, then San Jacqueline Valley. After San Jacqueline Valley, Dicker and Halabian. All that, again the smartness of William Saroyan comes in depicting the character. Expertise of William Saroyan come alive in depicting the character of Uncle Khosrove. This sentence is often repeated by Uncle Khosrove. It is no harm, pay no attention to it. But by the time this sentence is repeated, every time it creates humor. This humor and irony was skillfully adopted as a tool of narrativizing the story and developing the plot, and William Saroyan was totally successful. A few important terminology was there, significant terminologies were there, and that is of exact and major pivotal significance. Alfalfa, to mean it, a plant with small divided leaves and purple flowers. Second term, student may feel troubled at capricious, showing sudden changes in attitude or behavior. And next terminology is snort, making a loud sound by breathing through nose. The second last terminology we can say stalk, to walk in an angry manner or proud way. Later on, furthermore, we can say streak. Student face some trouble. Streak, a part of a person's character. That is, every family has a crazy streak. And especially an unpleasant part. Furthermore, there is a term vagrant, a person who has no home or job, especially one who begs. So this vagrant tribe and tribal culture, it was unimaginable for them to own a beautiful white horse, and they faced a lot many trouble, but this plot of the story is well lit, and where we find that William Saroyan